Lately, I've grown less fond of creating reactionary content, mainly because my format isn't well suited to it, as the videos I make are fairly intensive when it comes to editing, and I prefer to make videos based on my genuine interests. There will of course be cases where topical subjects align with what I find interesting, and this is one of those times. Yesterday, to my surprise, I found 40K's online discussion spaces abound with conversations on GW's intellectual property policies.
Were there some rewrites I missed?
Turns out that there were, and the big point of conversation is around GW not permitting any fan animations of their intellectual properties. It's a complex issue, and for anyone interested, I would recommend checking out the linked Reddit post from the 40K subreddit, which in my opinion does a great job of explaining the variables of the situation. Based on my current understanding, the short of it is, GW has every right to restrict the use of their IP, which extends to fan animations. And when unlicensed works based on their IP are being monetized, there is all the more reason to buckle down. So what does this mean for the channel? Will my avatar need to morph into an Adeptus Genericus? Well, I want to say the channel should be fine, since, as I understand it, the content I create would be classified as transformative due to the scripting/voiceover work that goes into the end product. But I guess time will tell. Shifting focus to the community at large, well, as you would imagine, the community is fairly divided. The feeling of evil corporate GW shutting down passionate creators that just want to make cool stuff based on what they love is at the core of it. The thing is though, GW isn't in the wrong here. Despite the loads of work that goes into creating such animations, the fact of the matter is, viewers value these animations because of the intellectual property. And if it's not licensed, then the creator should not be able to monetize the work. This I find to be fairly clear-cut. What is not so clear is GW outlawing all animations, including those not being profited from. There are multiple points to unpack here. The first element is why.
Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Other popular IPs have passionate creators who make fan projects released for free so that others can enjoy them. And while it's within the rights of the IP holders to cease and desist them, the majority of IP owners allow their fans to create such projects so as not to stifle passion for the IP. It should be self-evident that it's a great boon when those outside of the IP can see great works of passion done by those attached to it. The second element is that, rather strangely, GW is permitting drawn fan art and fanfiction if it's not for profit. The only rationale I can draw, and feel free to point out others if I may have missed them, is that Games Workshop does not want any Warhammer animations to exist outside of Warhammer Plus. And if that's the case, it's very scummy. Again, as I understand it, it's well within their rights to do so. But good lord, does it not come across as gross. There is also an interesting consequence to consider. Imagine, if you will, the amount of viewers who became fans of 40K through fan films like Astartes. My main point is that it's reasonable to assume fan animations have served as an entry point into the IP and hobby. And having a zero-tolerance policy for fan animations while allowing Warhammer Plus as the only place for them to exist removes that entry point for the fandom's growth. There is also the argument that Games Workshop does need to enforce their IP rights in order to preserve them in certain territories. I can't help but think there could have been another way. Some option other than to issue a zero-tolerance policy against the existence of fan animations. Now, this is fairly off the cuff, but I would like to take a look at stock footage companies. On these websites, individuals can purchase a license, which gives them the rights to use said company's intellectual property in their projects. With that in mind, I am hard-pressed to imagine that Games Workshop could not devise a similar system, where individuals could register for a no-cost non-profit license that would allow fan creators to create non-profit content, while also protecting their IP. Shutterstock was not a sponsor of this video. Consider subscribing to this channel instead. Now, I don't know for certain if the logistics are feasible, but surely there must be some middle ground that could allow for non-profit fan-created content to exist alongside Warhammer Plus. These were my thoughts on the present Games Workshop intellectual property discussion. Thanks for watching. And a special thanks to my patrons, Julius Maximus, as well as the others who help keep the dream alive. In the description of this video, I've placed links to the Reddit post I mentioned and GW's IP guidelines, as well as links to the content I referenced. Also, what are your thoughts on the GW intellectual property policies and their changes? I would be genuinely curious to know. So if you enjoyed this video, there's a like button. And if you want to help my channel grow, there is a subscribe button. There is also a bell button and a share button, so press the buttons you want to press. And with that, I hope to see you guys in the next one.
You're watching
Warhammer
Plus.